at describing it's talking about that stuff. Like he was just a genius. He's like the Lenny Bruce of spirituality.
I mean, it feels like it, like, and it feels more right. It feels not right, but like just it connects better with my spirit, just because it's not this thing where it's a discipline that holds you against your humanity.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
you know, it's
Yeah. Right.
it's it's this thing where you can really explore spirituality through what you do. Like you said, like if your practice is your children every day, then
Yeah.
that is your meditation.
Mm.
That is your spiritual practice.
That's it.
So find your way in that way, and that spoke to me more than anything I can read out of you know fucking, I don't know, anything.
What are you gonna read? You're in the book. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, like and that's what I love about him is it's so empowering, it's so liberating because people always have this sense of guilt about where they're at. This isn't the right place. Where I'm at right now is a place I need to get out of to get to this other place, and then I'm gonna be practicing my spirituality. And you know
Right.
what I mean? But what he teaches is like this is exactly where you need to be. You decided to come here and do this, and where you're at is perfect. Everything, all the shit too, all of it. And
Yeah.
that's, to me, man, that's a thing that can happen to parents, that can happen to anybody. Is you start thinking like well, it's over for me, or this isn't Shangri-La, this isn't the mountain, this isn't the cave in the mountain, and
Mhm.
it's like, fuck, this whole thing, you're in a dimension of matter that is a reflection of you. This is the dojo. I love that, man. And
Yeah.
it's good to remember that, especially, it's such good, it helps you be such a great parent, you
Well,
know?
what happened was, so my family had they've been away for a couple weeks, and it gave me a lot of time to sit and think and come up with my own schedule and practice what it is that I've been doing before they left, but like but in a more indulgent way, I guess. And then I watched Becoming Nobody, and it was just like, oh man, that makes so much more sense. Yeah, it's something to think about in the moments where I am, not breathing and reacting instead of listening. And
Yeah.
uh, it's just wonderful stuff, man. Yeah, I feel like it's just it is. People need to watch that, like,
Yeah.
and get a good. I mean, like, it's like a quick notes to, like you said, of like,
Yeah.
what's the name of the book? Experiments and
It's cool. It's an audio book called
Audit book.
Experiments in Truth.
Yeah,
But
experiments and
he's
truth.
got a lot of great books. Grist for the Mill is my favorite, but he's got a lot of great books. Yeah, he was a real I mean, he would never, I don't think he would ever, he was very humble. But he's about as close to a saint as anybody I've ever come into contact with, man. Like, I don't know another word for what he was. I don't know another word for it, because it's like he would just he had to have he had this Dasima, this woman that took care of him, and like one of the things she would have to do is she sometimes, like, he would just like, if somebody needed him, he would just be with them. Like, he would just give his entire self to them. And like that, you can't do, once you've had a stroke, and you can't do that. You got to sleep. You know what I mean? You got to, like, take care of yourself. But he would, I can remember there was a friend of mine who was going to one of the retreats. Her husband got hit by a car in a crosswalk, going to run an errand for her, and bled out on the street. And she went to this retreat. She was like, I mean, how can you imagine that happening to you? Like, how do you, they were in love. How do you make sense of that? It's like, so I'm going to go grab some eggs, and then they're gone forever. So she was like obliterated, man. And I remember she was texting me. I'm like, look, I'll talk to my friend who works for the Love Serve Remember Foundation. Maybe where he can get you like to talk to Ram Dass or something. Cause she was just like wrecked.
Yeah.
And he talked to her for 3 fucking hours in the middle of this retreat, like where they were trying to get her out because they're like, you got to rest. You're old. You have, you know what I mean? He was very old.
Yeah.
And like, they're like, you have to rest. But he was like, no, he wouldn't let them take him away. And he just stayed with her. And that's what he was like. All he wanted to do was help people. That was what he was like. It was the damnedest thing, man. It was the damnedest thing.
When did you come into contact with him, or with his, just Ram Dass comes into your life at what point?
Dude, it's like I had made friends with Raghu Marcus, who runs the Ram Dass's foundation.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom died. I was super depressed. I was like in bed, grieving, really, really fucked up. And he like called me. He's like, listen, come to this retreat that we're going to do. Ram Dass will be there. And he's like, listen to me, just get out of bed. Cause I'd been in bed for like 2 days. I just was paralyzed with depression. He's like, just get out of bed and buy the plane ticket and get on the plane and we'll take it from there. And so like, I remember like buying that plane ticket, when you're depressed, you're like, you can't even think. You're like, and I'm like, what am I doing? I don't even know what this is. And so anyway, I got on the plane, get to Hawaii, which is not exactly the worst place on earth for a depressed person. You know what I mean? It really, just Hawaii alone, You're like, I think there might be some hope. But what happened was like the retreat was like, this was when the retreats were really small. And it was, no offense against older people, it was the old hippies. I didn't really connect to them that much. And I was just sort of like, I still loved it though. The vibe was really great. And Ram Dass was there giving these talks. They're beautiful. But then one day at the retreat, Raghu, they were going to go look at a waterfall or some shit. And Raghu was like, come with me. You're not going to the waterfall thing today. And so he didn't tell me where we're going, got in his car, we're driving his car, getting stoned. And like, he's like, look, we're just going to go to Ram Dass's house. I want you to meet him. I want you to talk to him. So I'm like, oh, fuck. It's a very intense moment for me, man. And he did it in just the right way. I got to our Ram Dass's house. And then he's in his swimming pool. There's a Zen Roshi named Roshi Joan Halifax. She's this famous Zen Roshi who's written all these books. Who's this like, man, the Zen people are like living mountains. Like their energy is like, it's the craziest shit just to be around them. But there's a Zen Roshi shaved head in his swimming pool, carrying him around like a baby. He's laughing. They're laughing. They're like throwing a tennis ball to each other. And like, man, that was the first time I felt okay after my mom died. But I was so like, what the fuck is happening? And then he stops, looks at me, and he goes, I want to talk to you. And then like, and then like we get out of the pool. I'm sitting in his beautiful house, which is like the vibe is like inexpressible how good the vibe was. Like, it's like, it was like, it's like, when you stand in front of a waterfall and there's that breeze coming off the waterfall or something. It's like that. It's just like, wah, and not heavy wah, but just like, just life and joy and just I can't. It was magic. Yeah. And I'm sitting there and he wheels up to me in his wheelchair and he's looking at me and I can't explain it, man. I don't know what happened. He's just like looking me in the eye and then smiling the way like someone like that can smile. And then he goes, we've got to get you. You've got to go from here to here. And he gets this big smile. He's like, we can help you do that. And then I just am crying. I'll cry now talking about it. And then I'm like, I wish my mom was here. She loves you, because my mom loved Ram Dass. And he goes, she is here. But he didn't mean it like he meant it, man. Like, I can't explain it. He's like, she is here.
Like he could just open the closet door and she just pops out, kind of like,
yeah, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, I'm crying, and like, you know, I don't like when you're around beings like that. It's not language. Something else besides language it's something else is happening. And you know, especially back then, I like. Even now, I couldn't handle being around him. But back then, I just, you know, I was just as much as I could trying to surrender to that moment. And then he, in this moment that felt like forever, he looks down at his cat and he gets a big smile and he goes, she sleeps on my chest at night. And I'm like, oh, okay, what, you know, whatever. And so then I'm talking to my brother. I'm like, man, I met Ram Dass. I got to hang out with him in his house. And I told my brother everything he said about my mom and everything. And then I'm like, and then when we were done talking, he pointed at his cat and he's like, she sleeps on my chest at night. And my brother goes, you don't remember, do you? And I'm like, what? And he goes, that's what mom always used to say about her cat.
Oh, man.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's what's up,
It was crazy. Like, oh, it's a time bomb miracle.
man.
You know, he could have done some shit right there to be like, no. When I say your mom, I mean like I'm with her. But instead, he did something that was a lot more graceful than that, which is to like produce. He knew I would. He knew that I would connect the dots after I wasn't in his house anymore. You know what I mean? And that's pretty cool. Yeah. And that wow. You know, that was how that's one of the first times I got to be around him. And then changed my life, man. It really did change my life forever. Like that really did change. He's, you know, still around, by the way, totally accessible. Yeah. You could save money actually now because you don't have to go to the retreats. It's a lot easier to talk to him.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, man. Yeah. I just found it so fascinating. I mean, like, and from the stories that you told of him before, you know, like the movie theater story about him being in line and somebody like, you know, like that. I mean, it's just like so many different things that you told us about him, and then like watching that documentary and like actually seeing him and seeing his being and his essence and like how he was throughout when the first spacesuit he was wearing wasn't working, you know, like that. It just it really made sense. And man. I'm really grateful to have seen that, man.
I'm so glad you listen, there's what's cool about him is there's so much shit online of so many of his lectures out there, infinite hours of his stuff. And it's all really, really good. Like it's all just beautiful and controversial. Cause you know, the whole self-help industry is kind of based on becoming somebody else or becoming a better version of you. And his thing is like really just where you're at is so great. And he meant it, man. That was the other thing. Like when you're around someone like that, you know, and I know people he would be the first to say, he was very like, his idea of guru was Neem Karoli Baba. So his, you know, he wasn't pedestalizing himself. You know what I mean? Like he let people be with him in that way, but he had a very austere life. Like he was in a wheelchair. His arm didn't work. He would sit with his cats and watch birds out his window when he wasn't like being with people. You know what I mean? And read. Yeah. He would read. But yeah, he was, you know, Ram Dass, it means servant of God, actually. And that's what he was. He was just a servant.
Wow, man.
Wow.
Hey,
Nat said, who are we talking about?
Ramdas, Richard
Wow.
Alpert. Yeah, Richard Alpert.
Mhm.
He was so cool, man. I was telling him when he married Aaron and I, and I was afterwards we were at a dinner, and I was sitting across from him. I never could connect with him in the way I would have liked to, because I was always so nervous around him. But we were just kind of casually talking, and I said to him, I was thinking somehow marijuana came up. I'm like, man, I think I stayed stoned for 3 years straight once. And he got this big grin on his face, and he goes, "We all do that. We all do that."
Nice.
Oh my goodness, man.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Dude.
You know,
Hey,
yeah.
hey, we're gonna I'm gonna shift gears real quick because we had talked about something earlier.
Oh
Duncan,
yeah.
but-
Wait, do you have the link to this so I could share it with my
Yeah,
Discord? Did
yeah,
you
yeah.
send it to me?
I sent it to the group.
Okay, hang on. Oh, I see. Let me see. The group. Where's the chat? Where is it? Oh, the group text. Okay, hang on a second.
Yeah.
Oh, got it. Okay, cool. Okay, hang on. Let me just send this. Let me grab this real quick. Yeah, man. Like, why is? Oh, wait. There I am. All right. Hang on. Our conversations, man. You know, they have been very transformative for me. Y'all have taught me a lot of very uncomfortable fucking things, and that it's embarrassing that I didn't know. But of the things that you have taught me, one of them that is like was really like quite disturbing was the George Washington thing. Like, you know, like the idea of putting somebody else's teeth in your mouth, like the idea of putting your hostage's teeth in your mouth. So when I was on Rogan, I brought that up, and he, you know, immediately brought up something we didn't even find, which was George Washington's fucking teeth. Like, I don't know how he found it so quickly. Jamie is the person who works for him. Found it. He's like a gunslinger. Like, it was like 2 seconds. George Washington's fucking creepy ass dentures made of slave teeth where it was on the screen, along with like, some information about it. That was still, there was a 5-hour podcast. But so since I did that, mostly people were like very receptive and cool. But oh my God, the hate I've been getting from people. Oh, people have been telling me shit like I had someone on Twitter say, what you did was a crime against America.
Yeah, man.
Crime against America.
What?
And then I wish I could find, on Twitter, what I've been doing when I get them is instead of fighting with them, I just say, can you elaborate and see how long get them to like,
that's
keep
funny.
going.
yeah, just like, well, keep going. But then I feel bad doing that because it gives them like any kind of platform is shitty. But the most pathetic one I got was that someone saying, imagine if your father was a charismatic slave owner who wanted you to own slaves. What would you have done? It's like,
what?
You mean if my dad was like a human trafficker and wanted me to also be a human? My dad wanted me to join the military. I didn't do that. I sure as fuck wouldn't be a human. But the defense of George Washington from these people is the most like tragic, absurd thing you've ever seen.
Well, it doesn't kind of fit into this idea of like, I don't know, like this sort of thing that I'm learning about as far as like everybody's need to have a hero's journey or put themselves in the story of a hero's journey. And all we've gotten at least since my birth is that Washington is a hero, right, and that he's America's hero. And it's the picture of him on the hill with his knee up and his hand on his wrist, and I mean his hand on his hip, and like the sword out, and he's like charging the fleet, and it's like people put themselves, that's imagery at its best where it's like representation matters, because any white man can look at that picture and go, "Oh, you know the line I heard that that makes sense now. I know why all these white people are freaking out. The
Okay.
pursuit of happiness. They got the pursuit. We are Americans, and we have the right to the pursuit of happiness."
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
when I saw that, I said, "Oh, that's what it. The pursuit of happiness. There is no real guideline of what that is. It's just this subjective thing that like people feel they have the right to,
Right.
which the founding fathers of this country did put. You know, they told us we had the right to the pursuit of happiness, and that's what people are taking advantage of. I feel like in a time like this.
Well,
Yeah, that's the part that's always been weird to me, though. That's the part that's like, imagine you're a slave of someone, and you hear them say, "Hey, what do y'all think about this?" You're a hostage, and you hear this person saying, "Hey, let's add to this thing. Everybody has a right to pursue happiness." You know what I mean? And you're sitting there thinking like, because you know that was the other thing. George Washington, he was merciless in his pursuit of slaves. You know,
Right.
if slaves tried to escape, he would like, that was not, he would, and if he caught them, he would send them to places where they would die, where they were like treated so poorly. So that whole pursuit of fucking happiness thing, it falls apart a little bit. Yeah, it's like, imagine if you were one of Dahmer's.
what's up, Quincy?
If you were one of Dahmer's victims, right? And you're like in the part where he hasn't cut your head open to zombify you, but you know he's going to. He's like said, "I'm going to cut your head open, put some acid in your brain. Hopefully, it's going to make you an obedient sex slave. If not, I'll probably strangle you to death while I jerk off. But first, let me finish this chapter in the self-help book I'm reading."
I got a picture that I want to show.
Yeah.
And it's a very exuberant, or what's the word? That's not the word I'm looking for. It's a very
Splendiferous.
there we go. It's somewhere around there. It's a word. But could this have, and I want to know how y'all feel about this. Like, could this have anything to do with creating a revenge mentality? Right? Okay, so how do I show my, oh, here we go, right here. Look at this picture.
Okay.
So this picture is of this camera sucks.
I see it.
We can see it.
This is a man bowing down to Moors of Europe. So from 700 AD to 1400 AD, you know, Spain and Portugal was ruled by, you know, Africans and Arabians from Africa and Egypt and other parts, and a lot of them were called Moors, and they brought Europe out of the Dark Ages. So, you know, they did a lot of conquering over there. And so something happened around, you know, the late 1300s into the early 1400s where, you know, war started to break out, and then the Moors got pushed out of Spain and Portugal. And then after that, that's when, you know, 1492, then now all of a sudden Spaniards come to the Americas. Now Moors were world travelers already, so probably where they got some of these ships from. So what I'm saying is, so all these castles, all of these things, these beautiful monuments that you see in Spain and Portugal, a lot of this stuff came from these Moors, but part of this came by way of a little bit of slavery too, because they conquered parts of West Africa. That's why a lot of West African countries are Muslim. But what the Moors also brought to Europe was masonry, and that's where you get people like George Washington, who,
Holy
you know,
shit.
those guys are Masons, so they learn from these Africans this you know, occult science, magic, technology. So I'm wondering if the image like that was a real thing, which would suggest like this is some dominance. You know what I mean? Was there like I made a joke about the picture and I said, I'm gonna get your ass back one day for flossing on me, you know, type of thing.
Yeah.
So like
Yeah.
Yeah.
who's gonna what are you gonna say, Marcus?
Well, I was gonna ask, are you saying that is it like if a picture is like if a picture like that is real, is today a direct result of a picture like a picture like that?
I won't say a direct result, but you know, could be one of the many seeds. You know,
What do you
of where
mean?
we are.
You mean like
Just an attitude of being above somebody. You know, whether for good cause or not, eventually somebody's gonna take that type of attitude and manipulate it or get too big headed with it. You know what I mean?
What's the history of that painting? I'm not even familiar. What's the history of that painting?
I will have to do a little bit more research on it.
Oh, okay.
but are you I'm trying to, are you saying like you think because maybe the Moors had some dominance, you know, from that dominance, people like George Washington learned a way of being or something that then like is echoing through time or something? Is that what you're saying?
No. What I'm saying is, so these men like George Washington and these founding fathers, they got information that they weren't privy to prior to these Moors. Otherwise, Europe would have been a different situation, right? So they used this information to build colonies, right? So what if half of the stories that they made were just magic tricks to get your attention, to get you to believe in an idea, to get you to perpetuate it? While really what's going on, nothing really other than I'm just taking over stuff. You know what I mean? To create this idea or this system going. Because all of it is a replica of Egypt. Like the whole Washington D.C. looks like Egypt, but it's a system setup. So you have everybody has a role. You know what I mean? Everything has a what's the word I'm looking for? It's about like grabbing the attention of your mind, especially during a time where most human beings weren't educated. So they're probably unaware of self. They're not conscious and they're not talking about conscious things. So that means they're easily influenced off of off of symbols and impersonations. You know what I mean? So what if they had learned the trick of like, oh, let me give you all these symbols. Let me put my head up here. Let me give you this idea of, you know what I mean?
That's fucking nuts. That's fucking nuts. Mount Rushmore, right? Now it all kind of makes sense, right? It's like whenever I've seen that fucking Washington Monument, you look at that thing and you're like, why is there an obelisk with a blinking red eye at the top of it,
right,
in the middle of our nation's capital? Where else are there obelisks? When do you hear in any of the history books any leader being like, we need more obelisks? We've got to get. You don't. It just sits there, and it's like people are like, wow, look at that beautiful obelisk. They don't even know what it's called. They just call it the Washington Monument. They don't know they're looking at this occult symbol that does trace back to Egypt.
Yeah.
And wow, man, that's a trippy theory, man. That's trippy.
It's used to contact outer space life, right? Like, or life outside of the human realm is my understanding of like why they built obelisks in Egypt.
They like everything had multiple reasons, so that could be true. One of them also is how it reflects light off of the sun too, and also just a symbol of the phallus. So it's a big penis. Is what it is.
Big white dick. George Washington's weird dick.
I told you what I wanted up there. It looks nothing like my dick.
That looks more like Thomas Jefferson's dick.
and that's interesting too, though, because look at all those walls on Egypt. Like there's a lot of walls of Osiris or Osar, and he has a hard penis. But then when we go into Greece, then it's everybody flexing with big muscles and little bitty little penises. So it's like, wait, does somebody have like a little complex that they got a little insecure? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then at the same time, you're not seeing, you're not seeing any heroes, obviously. So what does that do?
Right. Yeah, it's an anonymous white dick protruding out of the and you know what? It's not. Can you talk a little bit more about some of the other symbols, the occult symbols in DC? I've always been fascinated by this, and it seems like you might know more about it.
Well, most of DC is I think most of this whole country is the foundation, the blueprint of it is Africa or Egypt. And so you go to Lincoln Monument. That's borrowed from the temple of Ramesses. So you can see this, the temple. I think there's one place at the somewhere in Egypt where it's like 4 statues of him. He's sitting upright, and you see a lot of statues in Kemet where the pharaoh is sitting upright. But the idea of a throne during ancient times in Egypt, the woman was the throne, and she chose the pharaoh to be the king to sit on the throne. So just like in nature, because we talk about the lion, they talked a lot about the lion, but we've been thinking about the male lion, but not thinking about the women who are the ones who decide to choose which one is going to be, the ruler. So that was the idea, and then later on got taken into something else. And so with the obelisk, or what they call a tekenu, it's always in front of, you go into Egypt, everywhere you'll see it, usually there's a pool in front of it, a reflection pool. So the woman is the representation of the water, the man is the light. So you got the reflection of each other, you know what I mean? It was all about that, that duality. So you got that in DC, you know what I mean? That where that whole, you know what I mean? We go to the dollar. Hey Rue, the Falcon.
Wait, yeah.
And
there's
then
a pyramid.
Right, there's a pyramid. There's an eye on the pyramid. There's a falcon, or there's an eagle. We have the eagle, but there's a falcon in Egypt, and he's holding. I forget. I think he's holding. I forgot what he's holding in his claws, but he has one thing in one claw and one thing in the other claw.
Isn't there a spider also? A spider?
I don't remember.
There's a spider in there, but that's like one of the look at the hidden things in the dollar bill. Like you see this the weird lines in the background. There's a little spider in the web.
Oh,
yeah, and like at the Bohemian Grove, apparently there's a sign that says "No weaving spiders," meaning don't do business here. And so yeah. So, but is that trippy? But
that's interesting.
But what, this is you're describing things that I had a blurry approximation of. But why do you think it's sort of hidden in plain sight? Why not just say, "Oh, we're going to base our civilization off of"?
Because that's where that's how magic works. You put it in plain sight. That's why occult means hidden. So it's only hidden to the person who's unaware. It's right there in front of you.
Right. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's so weird. Do you think the people in Egypt didn't know you think there were also people in Egypt who were like, I don't know, some kind of pyramid or something? I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. That's why it's a desert now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Literally.
I'm, I'm sure late, like, because that's a long, like, think about how old, like, okay, America is what, like, maybe 100 and something years old, but we've been, going to war in this country for 400 years. So each civilization before that has lasted what, maybe 300-400 years or something
Right.
like that. You know what I mean?
Right.
That civilization that built the pyramids lasted for like 3,000 years without being conquered. You know what I mean?
Right.
So damn, what did you come up with that long period of time
Right.
to like not have to worry about stress because I don't have no food to eat, don't have no money. Like you're the richest people on the whole planet. Like you
Right.
got pyramids around the world. Like you're trading
Right.
and like
Mhm.
they got everything. So what were their minds able to like come up with, Um, and I'm sure later on in time, and you can see where it starts, and like with like Akhenaten, they had already lost that foundation of awareness of just self, and then all these ideas had become real things. It's almost like the process. It's the process of a baby becoming a teenager to becoming an adult to becoming a senile old person and then passing away and then starting over. So they built the pyramids. That was in like their, I'm 47 years old stage. Like I'm in my adult, I'm prime, I'm
Yeah.
good, but I'm on my way out. And then they started
Yeah.
to get older and older, and then they started writing more because they started forgetting things. So apparently the more ancient humans didn't need to write because everything is programmed into your DNA, just like how it is in nature. Like there's no books to teach spiders how to build webs. Like they just got it. There's
Right.
no book to teach a bear how to hibernate for 9 months or where to go find the food to eat or how to tell the turtles who are coming out of a shell on land how to go find the ocean. Like
Right.
it's in us, but as you become senile, now you're starting to forget things. Now you're starting to like go a little crazy. Now you're starting to hallucinate. So now
Right.
these little images are not like, oh, they're not just images. These are gods now. And
Yeah.
now I must worship them.
Mm.
Or I must become it myself. Like, oh, I'm this king. It's like,
Yeah.
no, that wasn't the idea. You lost
That's
it.
so fucked up.
No, you lost it. And we're just not finding it back. You know what I mean?
Are we
2,000,
finding
3,000 years later, huh?
are we finding it back? Do you this is like, in Hinduism, the concept is we're in the Kali Yuga, the age of disintegration. It's just what you're saying, the symptoms of the age of disintegration. People don't have great memories anymore. The people's like morality and ethics, and people don't have that kind of like samurai honor anymore. They're like, people are all loose. And, the president, it's like you wouldn't expect the president to do anything but constantly lie. It's like our leader, or the justice system itself is corrupt. The laws were supposed to be like what you're saying, a reflection of nature, a perfect reflection of nature, and that is now getting all distorted and warped. Do you think it's really coming back, or
I think,
I like to imagine that, but how
I
do you
think
know?
so. I think so.
Well, I
I
think. Go ahead. Yeah.
I think, but it's gonna get a little like nature, like all of this is a story. So I look at things like just how nature works. So I ask a question and I look at the process of either how my human genetics work or the process of nature. So if the body becomes ill with a virus, it can take over that virus and become cancerous and then kill the body. But the body is a natural healer of itself. So it's going to create new protections and new antibodies to protect itself, right? And to do things to dispose of this virus. So from that perspective, humanity went through that same phase where we're one body and we got dissected into believing that we're divided into something else, which is a sickness. That
Right.
sickness became a virus, it spread. But in order for us to dispel that virus, it has to come to the surface. You know what I mean? Toxins come out through the sweat glands, you know what I mean? Through tears, through sweating, through your piss, through your pooping. And so all of that is a sign of either you're healing or you're working to do something different. And I see more people moving toward that. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
yeah. But what's going to come with that as you start to heal and you start to go on your transformation? People who are not on that journey yet are going to get triggered. So that's what we're seeing in humanity. Like people are trying to like wake people up, or they're trying to show like, hey, there's a better way. And the people who are still scared are pushing back and going, no, no, no. And then that's what's creating all of that chaos and all of these walls or ideas, because the human mind is smart. So that ego is going to create an illusion or this idea to protect you from this fear that's not even real that you have inside of you, because that's like just how powerful you are. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's kind of the war. It's like a war in the mind. And once more people become conscious of that one unified mind, then eventually we'll all be on the same page. Because I mean, we don't have a leader right now. That idea is not real anymore. It wasn't supposed to be, and it became real. But now we're saying like, okay, is the president really the leader? Right. And if he's not, then who's really leading us? Nobody.
Yeah.
It's all a bunch of people working together in different avenues. You know what I mean? Coming together.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
That's cool. That's cool. Wow, man.
So,
sign me up. I'll go to your church.
Yo, that's so. Yo, that where you went? Did you hear that? Because hey, we're
I want you to be the leader. No, you do it now. Now you're the leader. I totally understand what you're saying, leader.
That's funny. But you are. Everybody is supposed to become a leader in their own thing. You know what I mean? And you're a follower at the same time. So you're always a teacher and a student at the same time.
Right.
You're always in the process of expressing what you've learned as your truth to help somebody as you continue to learn more truth about yourself that you're unaware of, you know?
Right.
Yes. Is that anarchism?
I don't know. That just came to my head. So I just said it. I didn't read that nowhere.
It sounds like, that's the
natural anarchists.
Yeah. It sounds like, you talk to anarchists, they're not like what people like, they're the ones who are going to set shit on fire. Like when you're a kid and you draw anarchy on your notebook or whatever.
Oh,
you know what I mean? It's not like that. It really is a very humanistic idea, which is like humans are great. We don't need the lead. We don't need leaders. We don't need some, president telling us how to be. We're okay. We're like the whole defund the police thing is actually a very anarchist idea, which is like, if you look at where a lot of the problems are happening, it's a lot of times it's the police are causing the fucking problem. It's like that story you were saying earlier about the guy paying people to break the windows so he could sell more windows.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like if all of a sudden everyone just found harmony with each other, would we still need police? No. But that a lot of people be out of a job. You know what I mean? If they would be like, wait, hold on. What the fuck? We need to enforce some kind of
you know what it is? You know what I find though, a lot of the times is that people just don't know how to interact. There's no tact in interaction. A lot of the times people will call the police because they want somebody else to deal with whatever it is that they can't deal with.
Right.
And it's not even like a police matter. That's one of the things that, we in talking, I've seen a lot of talk around, like when you call the police, treat it like a loaded gun, like only using when absolutely necessary. Like if you don't plan on killing anybody today, don't call the police. Like, if you can handle it on your own, just go ahead. Like if you're not in harm's way, you know what I mean? There are like people who are like, oh, this person just keeps walking across my grass and I don't like it. I'm going to call the police on them.
Yeah.
And it's like, you don't have to call the police on somebody for that. You can say, hey, don't walk on my grass, please. They can say, fuck you if they want. And then you can say, all right, I tried my best. Next time I can take other measures.
Right.
But going to the police immediately because somebody walked on your grass, That's just a whole different thing.
Man.
Mm.
Yeah, no shit. That is like people are trigger happy to call the fucking cops. That's a plague, man. There's people that just love calling the fucking cops.
Yeah, dude.
They like hitting 911. They're lonely. They get this sick feeling of power. And also they're ridiculous. Give me a fucking break. By the time the cops get there, you're dead. Like if somebody wants to take you out, the cops are not going to save you, man.
Right.
There is no one's going to come in. Anytime I've called like when my house has been broken into, you call the cops, they'll be there in 2 hours, maybe. And they get there and they're like, you want me to symbolically act like I'm gonna fucking do anything here? I will. You want me to walk around, look at your place? What, you think I'm gonna go forensic files? You think I'm gonna do an investigation?
Yeah.
They walk around your house, they look around, they're like, all right, looks like you got robbed. Bye.
We can confirm this.
You should lock. And I've had them say this to me before. After I've been robbed, I've had them say, you really should lock your doors and windows. See you later. It's like, you know what I mean? Like, what are they going to do? Like, what are they going to fucking do? They're not going to do anything. If someone wants to kill you, if someone comes, if you look out your window and you see someone in a fucking executioner's hood with an axe, call the cops. Go ahead. Executioner. There's 911 calls where people are like, there's someone with a knife. They're dead. You can't. They don't do anything. They come after the fact. The cops come to mop up the murder. When are they like? I really do. Like, I'm sorry, by the. I know they do help sometimes, but domestic violence, for example, that's where they're good. They're good, right? Like you need somebody's getting beaten, and you need someone to come and get them out of the house. There are obviously times where you do need someone like that, but a lot of the times, no way.
You don't need them when you have a community, and the fact that we have so many shows how less of community we have.
Right.
Yeah.
Because a community, if you look up the definition of that word, that's a group, that's a collective group of people that agree on the same thing.
Right.
So we have the same laws, ideas, beliefs. Right. We love each other. We know each other. We all good with the same thing. So, hey, it's okay if somebody's walking down the street because everybody know everybody. It's almost like this whole neighborhood is one big house, our house.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And that's cool. Yeah. Oh, I miss Burning Man. It makes me think of Burning Man.
Oh, nice.
I know, man. It's supposed to be around this time, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Wow.
But that's something, and I've heard in like indigenous cultures like that. It's you have other people's kids spending the night with you all the time. Like, you know what I mean? Like kids will just decide they want to spend the night with you. And they'll just wander, how kids are. They just wander through the village and then they'll like hang out with you and then just fall asleep where you're at. There's no paranoia. It's like everyone's a community. And so there isn't this thing of like that, there's so much of a burden on like the modern family, right? Like there's so much, if we're having problems in a marriage, what do? A lot of people go to pay someone like a marriage therapist. It sucks. Like, it's like a prostitute for conversation where you go and but a community of people who love you and have been around you for a long time. You know what I mean? Like the healing that happens for like relationships and your own bullshit and like that your sharp edges through a real great community. It's amazing. It's a lot of people carry a lot of weight if you don't have a community. It's heavy, you know what I mean? Like you carry a lot of weight.
True that. And yeah, I think that's the thing that we are.
How you guys are doing?
Look, this is my mom. She wanted to say hey to y'all real fast.
Hey, what's up? Shout out to Mama Henderson.
How are you all?
Good.
How are you?
Look at that.
Hello.
Yeah, true definition of community there.
Yeah. And we're getting back to that. I think so. Even social media is gonna help with that too. Like how this is a community right here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The people that chime in, they're all on the same like collective idea, you know.
Yeah.
But I mean, you know, there are obviously other ways of community, you know, more physical with like an actual neighborhood. But yeah, man, I see more people buying more land and wanting to do, you know, more nicer things with it. And like shout out to Akon, he's building a city in Senegal. It's gonna be open in 2026.
Wow.
Are
That's
are
cool.
you would be willing to jump in open arms into that city? You be willing to
Open
do it?
arms. I mean, I'll go visit, you know.
I
And
mean,
then,
you go open arms or like open arms into a visit, like
yeah,
okay,
coming. Akon City.
yeah, man.
Is that what it's going to be called?
I think so.
Why not? Right.
Right. Right. Why not have a Duncan Land? You know what I mean?
Duncan Land. Oh,
Nah,
I
you gotta
love
be
it.
Duncanville, man. Duncanville, man.
Duncanville.
Come to Duncanville. Bring your ketamine.
Oh, that's funny.
Hey, Aaron wants to say hi. Speaking of community.
What's up, man?
Hi.
Hey. How's it going?
On the bump.
The bump.
Oh,
Boom.
wow.
Look at that bump.
Yeah.
Wow.
I came
Ah,
here them.
look at that.
Yeah.
Thank you, love. I love you. Thank you.
I love that.
She's the best,
A
man.
condom.
Nice.
Oh, man.
Nice.
What was it? Yeah, community. Yeah, like this should be to me, like this should be the singular focus of people right now, regardless of what country they're in, what their government is. It's like the more I turn my eyes to the government, the more I feel chaotic. The more I turn my eyes to the community, the more I feel grounded and safe. And like, and this, I'm sorry, but I do have a Burning Man community. And one of the sweetest things, one of the like, I don't know, they don't like the term leader, and they don't like centralization. But there are people who are have to organize the camp. Like that's just the way it is. It's like it's not going to spontaneously happen. Like someone has to like find out who wants to cook and who wants to, what you're good at usually. But I remember one of the things he said to me is, in our community, it's just no one's going to be homeless. Like no one's going to be homeless. No one's going to run. No one's gonna like, no one should have to worry. That's in modern society. People carry a worry around with them every single day. That if there are a few bad decisions or a few bad phone calls or a sickness away from being completely destitute. And that is fucked, man. And in a good community, that's not there. That doesn't exist. Thank you, love. Thank you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That imagine that. You not having that feeling. I don't know if y'all have that feeling, but imagine if whoever's watching or whatever, imagine if that feeling was gone from you. It doesn't mean you need to lean on people or be a fucking parasite,
Right.
but just it's taken away from you that sense of like, oh no, you're going to be all right. You've
Right.
got a place to stay. You come to my house. I got you. You're going to have food. We're going to get you back on your feet. That's how you're supposed to feel. That's how you're supposed to feel. That's supposed to be what it feels like to be human.
Yeah. And you know what? I grew up in an environment like that. And been on the end of, opening and, my parents letting people stay for a while who needed to stay. Or helping a elderly sick person when they needed it. It's a lot of love and nurture, and it's so interesting how that can be there, but at the same time, that other side of those walls from all that trauma that has been brought on for so long.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like community, I guess that's how we get back to actually having a physical community, is maybe getting that actual community within ourselves, because all of this is just a reflection of what we're going through. You know what I mean? And so that lack of community means that we're so divided within ourselves, and how we feel, and what we know and what we don't know, and just not that having that harmony. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because because not having that harmony doesn't mean that it's going to be all bad. You're still going to do all the great things that you inherently naturally can do. It's just half the time going to have some boo-boo on top of it. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah,
But eventually you can't keep spreading boo-boo. You know what I mean? You got to clean it up.
that's right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, look, man, you know, like when I don't know if you've ever been in a toxic or a not so great relationship, and maybe you find in a lot of times with those relationships, quite often you detach from a community just because like that's part of the unhealthy quality of it. And then the fights and the weirdness, it happens in this vacuum and it's so lonely and fucked up and weird. But if you're in a community and you're having like the normal kind of problems you might have in a relationship, and you realize like the community's holding that and that it's not like it's perfect, but a lot of that energy that normally would just be like caught in a feedback loop, it gets absorbed. The community absorbs it. We carry the weight for you, you know, as much as we can. And it might not even, it might just be a little conversation that you have. You know, I've had a lot of great experiences with it. The Ramdas community and then the Burning Man community. It could be as simple as you're just walking with someone to get ice to bring back to the camp. And in that, you have the greatest conversation of your life, or they've identified that you're, you know, not feeling great about something. You know what I mean? And they just listen to you in that moment. I don't know how to explain it, but it's like it becomes an organism.
Right,
it's like
right.
Sometimes you're the white blood cells, you know, sometimes you're the thing that needs healing. You know what I mean? And that's always changing that role. It's one of the most beautiful things. God, Jesus, it's so sad that we're living in a famine world, a community famine.
Yeah. But you know, it's cool too when the more conscious you become, when you start to attract your community, like from different parts of the world or different places that you didn't grow up, like how we all met. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we all, as we were evolving, attracted ourselves to each other, but we're a community because everything that you just said, like we have that with each other. So you got somebody you could call if you're having a problem. I know I got somebody I could call, and you know, so like is the physical place doesn't have to be there. It's about that connection, you know, with the heart and with the mind, you know. So it's cool when you start to like run into your community people, you know, who you didn't even know existed. You meet them and y'all have a conversation like, oh man, like, whoa, how did we grow up 4,000 miles apart, but we came up with the same, you know what I mean? That's cool.
Yeah, man.
Well, it's the idea of you know, art does that, you know, putting yourself out there, your desires, your wants, your you know, manifesting your dreams, you know, all of that just automatically puts that into the realm of things, right? Like you declare a major in college because like, oh, I'm curious about this thing. Well, guess what? You're attracting like 47 to 50 other people, hundreds of other people who are into that same thing. And through those hundreds of other people, it weeds down into like, and your community become as specific as you want it, or as loosely, you know what, as long as you like red socks with yellow polka dots, we all good, man. Like that's, you know, it can just be that, man, which is great.
Yeah, definitely.
And you know, like, and y'all are gonna get so sick of me saying Burning Man shit, but it is. I'm honestly, man. I was talking about,
man.
I was gonna go this year, man. I was talking to my friend. I'm bummed it got canceled. I was telling my friend, I'm like, I wasn't even thinking about what I was saying, but I'm like, yeah, man, you know, it just sucks. I was gonna go this year. Burning Man got canceled, and he texted back, yeah, it was the worst thing that happened this year, huh? Like, ouch. You're bitching about that? Really upset about Burning Man? Really?
Right.
I am. And I'm bummed about it, man. And not bad bummed, you know. But because it's like, it's such an interesting. way of experimenting with community. And one of the aspects of Burning Man is like this kind of radical generosity, right? And when a community is generous with each other, and then at Burning Man, you have these different camps, and they all have different stupid names, and they all give different things to the festival, and it's all, it's a gifting economy. Like you don't buy, it's not barter, it's gifting. Like people just give you shit. And then suddenly what happens is the way that the camps sort of show off or get credit or display themselves is the most generous camps, the ones that are giving the coolest shit, the ones that spent all year. Like there's the Mayan warrior camp, which is like, have you ever heard of the Mayan warrior? Have you ever heard of what this is?
No.
Oh my God. It's and I don't know for sure, you hear all kinds of rumors where people are like, oh yeah, that is definitely paid for by drug cartels. Like you know what I mean? Like the cartels bring it to Burning Man. Who the fuck knows? I don't know. Anyone who's in that camp, I heard that from someone else at Burning Man. Who the fuck knows? But it's this beautiful float that it people follow it on bikes through the desert. It's like watching a school of fish swimming around like this big fish. But the float has like, I think it's like $1 million speaker systems. So it's fucking it's loud, and it's got the most famous DJs play music on it, and none of them get paid for it. They all do it voluntarily. And but it's so ostentatious. Since they're not charging a ticket, they're not asking for anything. Suddenly that is true generosity, and it takes on a kind of mystical power. It's no longer like, you know what I mean? There's not a
interesting.
And man, it's like wild. When I got to watch it roll out the first time, and these drums, it just plays these like war drums, like boom, 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 and people like gather around it, and then just it slowly drives off into the desert, and you're like, what? But it's not just generosity within a community; it's communities form around other communities. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like there's the sum total of all communities in the world, whatever that may be, the human population. But, there's obviously like little communities within that. And when little communities decide to become generous to the rest of the world, pool their resources together with no desire for anything other than the dopamine hit from giving cool shit to people for no reason, that is magic, man. That produces some magical, crazy moments that, I hope humans begin to evolve to that as a form of currency.
Is it a selfish thing to add? Is it a selfish thing to put spells with that? I guess and I don't know if this is a high magic question or not, but I'm just wondering if that is your intent, if you do that, but then you slip your spells in there with that magic, does that then change the generosity, or you know what I mean? Like, does that then like make it different or switch the vibration of it?
No,
I don't think so.
No. Okay.
It's all about your intentions. Yeah.
And but I think a spell is going to carry over into something else later.
Well, a spell is telling your kid that Santa Claus brought this present, because they're going to act a certain way that whole year, some of them, to get certain things. It's just an idea. All it is just the parents putting the gifts out. They're going to get it anyway. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But did they do that out of being malicious? No. Is it a lie? Yeah. But I think that's the thing with like belief. It's almost like you got to know that when it's okay and when it's not okay. It's like no to watch a movie that has violence in it, and no to just watch it as a movie and not make that literal. Like, just take it as a story. It's just a story. You know what I mean? To help you see a point about something else.
Yeah.
And once you find it out, just be okay with that. Maybe at the time when somebody wanted to give you the real truth about it, maybe you weren't ready for it. That's just one. That's just one idea.
Yeah.
Man, when they killed George Floyd, that was a spell. That was a ritual of destruction. That I don't know if the cops who did that were possessed. I don't know if they I don't know. But you're looking at people who literally are wearing fucking pentagrams.
Yeah.
Murdering someone's and there's that silence to it. It's a ceremonial thing that's happening. And look what it did. It was a spell. They cast a fucking spell. They sacrificed the human, and look what it did.
They put out a symbol.
I think I think
man.
George Floyd, if I'm not mistaken, was a 33rd degree Mason.
Are you fucking kidding me, man?
Wow.
I believe so.
Hey, and they changed Chadwick's birthday online too. That was creepy, bro. They
say that again.
They changed Chadwick Boseman's birthday.
Yeah.
What?
So okay, there's just a lot of numbers. So so how a lot of this works, you gotta catch the symbols, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the universe works in numbers. So I think there's something really bigger at play here that it's not about a couple rich white dudes, man. Nah, you're not this is some high power energy we dealing with, you know what I mean? And so so let's do a quick little, and this is from the perspective of an African American. So this is not a general reality for the world. This is coming from the symbols that I have experienced. In the beginning of the year, this whole year has been about reflection, right?
Yep.
And to reflect is to go within and to heal, and to be aware of the things that you need to heal, i.e. the sicknesses. So then as you start to do that, the sicknesses start to rise. And then as you go through that process, you detoxify from those things, right? And so symbolically, I've seen a lot of things that are related to the immune system. So the beginning of the year, unfortunately, Kobe Bryant falls from the sky. But that turned into a powerful empowerment symbol, because for so long in our communities, we haven't seen a really good picture of the love between a man and his daughter.
Oh yeah.
And that was something that had elevated to wake up and inspire. He empowered women on a level that a man hasn't really done before. You know what I mean? And he also empowered men. So there was a channeling of energy, and i.e. he's named the Mamba, which is a representation of the snake in Egypt. It's the Kundalini energy that rises up. And this is the thing that's showing you okay, now you're waking up. Great. But when he fell, that created a worldwide trauma. And when you experience grief on that type of scale, what does it do? It impacts your immune system. Right after that, we got the COVID thing. Wow. But then all these numbers start to continue to add up, because he passed away right the day after LeBron passed him on the all-time list. So it's there's a beautiful story being told here, but it's also a story to let you know, hey, things are about to happen right now. Falls out of the sky. He gets buried in a place called Corona. Kobe in Hebrew means COVID. It's all about the words. Just keeps popping up.
Yeah.
So now we're going through this lockdown. Now we got these riots. So what I see on Melrose, I see all these borders going up, which is a sign of when you're faced with all that fear, what happens? Now you're putting up barriers, you're putting up walls. So I'm just watching and I'm seeing oh man, this is I'm getting a display of human consciousness in physical form. There's chaos going on, and nobody knows how to deal with it other than to just panic. You know what I mean? And the panic in Greek is from the goat, this goat god called Pan. It's the god of chaos.
Yeah.
And so it's like when you like they squeal out of the cave, you know what I mean? That's coming from the root chakra, but that's also if that thing is waking up, that must mean like, oh shit, like something is going on. And so two powerful images to a little black boy had an impact on his life in this year. To see a black mamba fall out of the sky and then to see a black panther fall down. And both of those men represented probably, give me two other names who looking at their life story go, man, if nobody else shows you how to be a human being, you know what I mean? Just from like the image, not their personal life. I have no idea what was going on, but that to see that happen. And so Chadwick, he played Jackie Robinson, who is an iconic hero of ours, number 42. Chadwick passed away on Jackie Robinson's day. Now, Jackie Robinson's day isn't usually on August 28th. It got pushed back because of Corona. So out of all situations, it got pushed back to that date. He ended up passing on that day, which was the same day of Jackie Robinson's birthday. I mean, not birthday, but Jackie Robinson Day. And whether this is his real age or not, online, when he passed, he was 42 years old. So that's 42. That's 3 times that number 42 has popped up. Now, in the beginning of the year, we had the opposite of that number, 24, who fell down. You know what I mean? So the numbers keep like interchanging and popping up. So, but then the next day, they changed the date. They completely changed the age. It went from 42 to 43. I don't know why they did that. But whatever that those numbers mean for anybody who just heard those numbers, you know, you take that for yourself. But
go play the lotto.
Go play it.
Man, no, but I've been thinking that it's like, what the fuck? Don't also Ram Dass, and also I don't know if y'all know this guy, David Graeber, who was this one of the people who like started Occupy Wall Street just died. And like a lot of these like figures that are very inspirational, very powerful, very grounding, very grounding people, great examples. Chadwick being, if you look at his life, that guy was like, I can't even imagine how busy he was. But when you realize that on top of being busy, being a world famous actor, he was always working with kids and stuff while fighting cancer.
Right.
I mean, that's like those beings, man, they don't like a lot. That's the weird thing that it sounds dismal, but it isn't. Like one of the ideas is like, they don't have to spend as much time here. Like they do they like burn off their karma and then they get to drop their bodies. A lot of times you'll meet people like, I've met when I worked at this summer camp, there was this kid. She was like so smart and so like, I remember we would play chess and talk and I was just always impressed. Like, this is just a kid, but like, she seemed like mystical or something. And like, I can't explain it. Had a kind of glow or something. I just, we just played chess every once in a while. But I remember she died skiing and just like hit her head on a tree and just died. And I remember thinking like, that person wasn't really meant to be here that long. Like she just came in to do a little bit of work and then go. And some people say that's apologetics. You're trying to make sense of the chaotic evil of the universe and the general reality that the most wonderful among us seem to be the ones that get taken out at the very worst time, but
right.
I don't know, man. I think like sometimes when oh God, man, I'm the king of cheese. You're blowing my mind, by the way. I'm being like, I miss Burning Man. But like, I'm gonna make it even worse. That's that part in Star Wars when Obi-Wan Kenobi is like, if you kill me, I'll be a million times more powerful. It's that. It's like you think by their bodies being sort of dropping their bodies, it's like they are less incumbent now. There's, they can do, and I don't think people like that go away right away, and they can. I think like when you die, you don't have to hang out here, and you might see this as a kind of like dirty fucking rest stop, like when you're on a long trip and you have to stop and piss. Like I think when a lot of times, that's what this is, but for bodies,
that's why in all those so but that's kind of true though if you think about it. A lot of those ancient texts talk about how like this is the lowest of the low places in the universe. Like being a human is like we're physical form. That means we're higher forms of light are laughing at us. Like we're the shit of the cosmos. But the idea is that if you are to become God, is for you to fall in love with the shit. Because and that's a metaphor for your own awakening, with all your shit that's inside of you that you're so scared to look at, to address, or to accept. Love it and watch how it then elevates you. You know what I mean? So
yeah. I love that, man. That's it. That's it.
So have fun.
You're so uplifting.
I appreciate that. Try to be, man. These there's a lot of stories, man, happening. And I just
I always thought about it like it was this thing of like we are it for some reason. Like think of the best worst reality television you could think of, and that's what the rest of the universe is looking at us as.
90 Day Fiance.
Yeah, 90 Day Fiance. That's like exactly what America, like the Earth is to the rest of the universe, the galaxy.
Right.
Just 90 Day Fiance to them.
Like, cause think about this part. Like, how old are our is so all of our minds are connected to that one mind from the very, very beginning, right? So even if we just go to the beginning of Earth, that's like 4.5 billion years, something like that, they said. So basically, like we're just living out, 80, 90 year experience of a billion-year-old mind. So we're pretty old in that thought, looking at it, that way. But
and yet here we are. And yet here we are with our loves and our lives and our dreams and the world. And yeah, sure, fuck these light being aliens. Go fuck themselves off an Alpha Centauri beaming around like, oh yeah, you snobby fuck. I don't care. You're a light beam. I can dig.
Screw you, Kratos.
You ethereal fucking snobby motherfucker. I can dig a hole. I've never seen light. What's light? Big fucking deal. You light shit up, man. I can throw my shit. And that's something. Yeah, man. Yeah, that's the other side, man. That's the other side of it. We are, and you know what? In Buddhism, thanks, Angel. In Buddhism, there's the idea of like if imagine like an infinite ocean, and imagine an old turtle. It's an old like senile turtle swimming through the sea, and there's one floating in this ocean. There's one board with a hole in it, and imagine the turtle just happens to swim up and stick its head through the hole in that board, and that's the odds of incarnating as a human being. That's how rare it is to take a human birth. At the human birth, you're right. On the gods, if they are aware of us, which they are to some degree, in the way we're aware of ants. Like when I'm walking with my kid, he'll point to ants and go, ant. But then he's not thinking about it for the rest of the day. Those ants can be in the middle of like, we are revolting. This is it. We are.
Yo,
You could be
I was
living
thinking
like
about that this morning. That's so funny. That's
like
funny.
ant revolutionary war. Who the fuck knows? Or the ants could be like, our consciousness is awakening. And that's how the gods, if they do notice this, it's kind of like that. But also because the realms of the gods are so like temporarily impervious to the worries that humans have to deal with, because they aren't in the shit, because they don't have to deal with the suffering, then they don't even have the inclination to try to awaken themselves, to try to understand what they are. They're like, whatever the fuck the version of golf is for them, who knows what it is. They're surfing around black holes and like, who knows what. But so to incarnate as a god is wonderful in the sense that it's like every breath is an orgasm. You know what I mean? Every exhalation, you're creating galaxies, but you don't have the thing humans have, which is that sense of like, being limited, the gift of death, the gift of the gift of every day looking in the mirror and being reminded of impermanence and change. So you are a living scripture in that sense. And so that's a rare thing to get to be, and not, so that's why it's a great incarnation. They say it's like, if you want to liberate yourself and you're sick of doing this thing of never ending sentience, you're at the right place. And celebrate the human existence. But god damn, man, when I've gotten high enough and I encounter some of those beings, you're dead on. Because I have been high enough where I encountered an entity once that was playing a game. I didn't understand the game. It didn't have a form. It was energy. It was like doing this weird game of like, I don't know, like moving through grids or something. I couldn't understand it.
Wow.
It noticed me and it stopped whatever it was doing to look at me, and it said, "Why would you be a human? Why did it said that's what it conveyed? It was like, why would you do human? Why it's so heavy? It's so heavy." And then it just went and kept doing whatever the fuck it was doing. But it's just what you're saying. It was like, why would you pick that?
Right.
Why are you doing the human thing?
Yeah. Wow. I've been having these dreams lately, or visions where I'm sitting on top, like atop somewhere, maybe a star or something, or I'm like riding light, and I'm watching things jump in space. It's like a quick I can't explain what it is, but it's like a flicker, on shrooms, how things get so like translucent. That's how it's like a waver in the atmosphere that you can see, and it's a jump. It goes boom boom, and then it goes, and I don't know why I have these visions, man, but it's like it's really cool to be seeing lately, man.
That's what's up.
It's
sometimes I'll see little like, and I've heard that people when they go into the pyramids, they'll because it's basically a sound room, and the high vibrations in that room, when you play certain notes, like it elevates your consciousness. And a certain time it lines up with the Orion belt, which did you see that there's these three suns orbiting each other, like at the nose of Orion's belt?
No, I didn't see this.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I wonder what it's like in that solar system. So what was I going? What was I talking about? Bring me back.
Bring you back. You just said there's three suns in Orion. I mean, where are you going to go after that?
So they found this new they call it a triple sun, something like that. Was three is so apparently our sun should have a twin sun, a lost twin sun somewhere, because that's how light they reflect each other. And so, but in this area there are three of them orbiting each other, and they have enough dust to create like 200 Earths. So Yeah. But so I was saying that sometimes I'll look in the sky at night and I'll see like little orbs like traveling in a straight line, and I don't know if that's from the Hubble telescope. Could have been, but it's been more than once. And I know that when you go into the temple in Egypt, I've seen. I even had a friend tell me who had that experience when they came out. After coming out of the temple, they would look in the sky and they would see these orbs, or what then later they call spaceships. You know what I mean? What
Yeah.
is light? Well, I'm wondering if that's just different forms of light that now, since you're more conscious, that now you're aware of it, because there's like 7 or 9 different forms of light, and we're only like we can only see like 2 or 3 of them, something like that. I don't have the numbers right, you know what I mean? But what does that mean if we're able to like maybe is that what the Incredible Hulk means? You know what I mean? Like if we're able to become conscious enough to be exposed to gamma rays and be able to control that light, what does that turn us into? You know what I mean? Like a mutant.
Yeah.
That's
Man, like if you think about, if you play around with the idea of like God, theism, and Mike James says, damn, I need to smoke. Smoke with us. But when you think of like you just like, I remember I was taking biology in college, and just it was hard for me, not just because there's a lot to learn, but just because it's like I just kept being thwarted by my sense of like, shut the fuck up that this wasn't made by somebody. Like, how are you? I couldn't do it. I'm not scientific enough to be like, oh yeah, this was a result of natural selection, when they're just describing just the insane way that the nephrons in your kidneys work to tell you when it's time to piss. You know what I mean? Like the systems in place that are working in perfect harmony, but you look at them on a microscope and it's so perfectly made. And then you look at DNA and it's like a helix, it's like a signature. Like it looks like that seems like someone wrote, that's a signature or something, like or something made their mark, and I was like, oh, that's my thing. Like there's, to me, I get creationist. I also think creationism and evolution can work as the paintbrush of creation or whatever like that, but it's such a sublime way things have harmonized here. My apologies to my like Richard Dawkins people who might be listening or whatever. You hate me, I'm sorry, but to me, like when I think about heaven and hell, I think, wow, what a brilliant thing to make heaven and hell a simultaneous place, so that if you're living in a certain way, oh, you're in fucking hell. If you lie, if you steal, if you're angry, if you're selfish, your life falls apart. Because I've done all those experiments, and suddenly you're surrounded by, you know what I mean? Like if you're a drug addict, like all of a sudden think of how your surroundings change. I don't know if you've ever gone through a nice like drug phase, but like all of a sudden you're in like some weird fucking apartments, man. You know what I mean? Like all of a sudden you're in some places and I didn't even go as far. Once one of my friends said to me, it made it into the Midnight Gospel. Joey Diaz once said to me, you've never been addicted to cocaine until you're standing in a basement with water up to your knees because it flooded, snorting cocaine with strangers who are pulling their dicks out and pissing in the water because they don't want to leave the cocaine. That's a hell realm, man. That's a hell realm. You know what I mean? Like that's hell. But also there is a way to live in the world. And I'm not saying by achieving some like grand platform or whatever, but if your perspective starts shifting, and you, at the very least, you just do that weird thing where you're like, you know what? All I can do now is fucking help. Yeah. I don't know if you ever gotten so backed into a wall and you're so fucked anyway. You're like, you know what? I'll just start helping people because I'm fucked. There's nothing else I could do. And then all of a sudden that shift, and now you walk outside and now you're noticing the way light plays on the trees, and suddenly you notice the way the wind's blowing the trees, and
Yo,
you know what I'm
Because
talking
be-
about? It's
because
heaven all of a sudden.
so
because that's all you had to do anyway was to open up. You know what I mean?
it
And
was
Yeah.
yeah.
one thing that happened in context to that. One day, it was right before our book get out, and my wife, who does a couple different healing modalities, she started out with IET, integrated energy therapy, and she did her first session on me the night before I found out, and I just felt weird, and I was like, I'm going to bed, and I just went straight to bed, and the next day I woke up and I felt all like refreshed. I felt like I hadn't worked since like NCIS the previous summer, and I was just kind of like, what is life, man? I was really in a down place, I guess, and I woke up the next morning. I felt great. I didn't feel any of that stuff that I felt before. I even forgotten about the Get Out audition, which was like in the previous year. It was like this was January when I found out, and I auditioned in like November. So when it came the morning I woke up and I was like, oh man, I'm feeling great, feeling good. I was like, man, I took my ukulele, I got my daughter, we went to the park, like we were hanging out and like playing songs and singing together. And then like, some other dad like walked up and was like, playing, he like randomly had drums in the car, and like, we're just out there like jamming with these kids and stuff. It was such a fulfilling day where it was like nothing else mattered. Seeing the joy from those kids and like, them wanting more. And I've never played publicly like that before, my instrument. So it was just something about that. And on the walk home, after all that synergy was just like flowing on the walk home, that's when my agent called me and was like, yo, you booked it. Like they want you to come down, have this meeting or whatever, and go from there. And it was just like, oh wow, the minute I let go of it, it just finally, it just finally happened,
Oh man. Wow. That's it right there. That's it. It's like, it's so interesting that phenomena, man.
Yeah,
and you know what? Like, I mean, I'm obviously Get Out. If I'd booked that, I'd still be like, I was in Get Out. Like, I would still be loving that I got that.
man.
But it still can't replace that moment with your daughter in the park and the ukulele, right? Like, that is irreplaceable. That moment.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's what's up.
It's an interesting thing, man. I got this thing I wanted. Duncan, this book I've been reading, man, has been getting very interesting.
This is the ceremonial magic book that predicted the pandemic in 2013.
I'm gonna share it with our audience real fast, and just because I just find it interesting, you guys, if you all are interested in this book. But it says the centennial influenza epidemic is a disease that is a bird to human cross-species flu virus that happens once every 100 years or so with devastating results. The last occurrence of this pandemic in 1919.
Hey Marcus, wait, I'm so sorry. Can you tell everyone when this book was written? When
this book, Disciples Guide to Ritual Magic: A Beginner's Introduction to the High Art, was written in 2007.
Okay, cool. That's cool.
Yeah. The last occurrence of this pandemic in 1919 was not judged by historians to be a scourge sent by God, but many who lived through it would make a connection between the end of a brutal world war pursued with soulless zeal by humanity gone mad and a manifestation of a natural pestilence set to kill millions more as a kind of divine retribution. No wonder the following decades saw the chaotic intermingling of conservative religious fervor, right-wing fascism, and liberal anarchy. The madness of that period was attributed to the terrible horror and loss of life in the Great War of the previous decade, as if piety or racial purity or excessive consumption would erase it from the consciousness of the world. As a note, we are soon to be revisited by this pandemic, and the state of our and the state of our morals or piety will not stop it from occurring. Rather, it will be our medical prowess that will save the day. It will be interesting to see what is made of such a scourge in the 21st century if we fail to contain and eliminate it with our science. So,
Oh fuck.
yeah, that's interesting.
I mean,
That's interesting.
2007.
Yeah,
Wow.
you know,
I didn't.
gentlemen, I'm gonna get an In-N-Out burger.
Okay.
And I'm gonna show you something before I get that In-N-Out burger, though. Hold on, I don't want to unplug this stuff.
Oh, and while you're doing that, Duncan, have you seen this book?
No, I haven't.
It's called
Let me take a note of that though.
Alchemy and Mysticism.
I'm gonna
Right.
order both. I'm gonna order both of these books right now. This is good reading for when
By
we move.
Alexander Rube.
Okay.
Thanks,
I
man.
thought I could turn my camera around, but I want you to look at my altar.
Ah, there
Oh.
he is. Cool, man.
Nice.
Hanuman. Jai Hanuman. That's so great, man. He looks great there. That's really cool.
Yeah.
What's that guy in the corner there?
Clancy.
Hey, that's dope.
Hare Krishna.
Nice.
Thank you. Thank you, man.
That's dope.
Oh man, I was working on my Clancy. Oh,
You made that?
Yeah, I made it.
Dang, that's dope, man.
Dope.
I'm gonna make a better one, man. This is just the first run. This guy, man.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man,
That's
y'all
dope.
have to promise me. I'm sorry to get sentimental. When we can safely do it, that you guys are going to come visit us where we move, man. Because we are going to get some land, and we are going to there is a component of what you're talking about. And you mentioned it to me, what you want to do too, Marcus. I think it's interesting. We're all getting that same vibe.
Yeah.
Of see if you can get some land and then share it a little bit,
Exactly.
I'm not saying a commune or anything like that, but God, it'd be so fun for us all to gather. But it's across the country, man. So
and man, we wanna make that trip, dude.
Yeah.
And Sarah wants to see you guys before you go. So
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, we got to do it quick. We're splitting 8 more days and we're out. So we got to make that happen sooner.
Right, absolutely.
Man,
Yeah.
y'all are the best. This is my favorite one yet. Thank you so much.
Same, man.
And I don't mean to hold you up. I know you got the In-N-Out craving, but I got to ask you, Goodbody, what is behind you, man? What is that thing behind you on your shelf?
That big machine?
Yeah.
So that is a antique cold brew coffee maker.
Okay, cool.
So I'm a big fan of coffee. And I like cold brew. But my friend, she owned a coffee shop, and unfortunately, she had to let it go. And I used to come there every morning, and we built a friendship. So that was kind of like her token to me as a friend gift. So that's cool. My little gift. Yeah.
Nice.
That's awesome. Honestly, everything you've shown me, and every time we meet, where you're like, oh look,
right. Yeah, I got
Osiris
a lot of cool
or all these deities. But yeah, I was like, honestly, that's the lead. I'm like, oh, it's probably some alchemical synchronizer.
Coffee is alchemy. There's a alchemical process to it, so that's why it has a big. Because it's to make cold brew take really good cold brew takes about 48 hours.
Really?
So yeah, so it has to go through this process, and so I can't explain it right now, but the way my friend explained it to me, man, it's a really dope alchemical process, and it's therapeutic too. The way you have to transfer the beans through this whole thing. So one day we should we'll talk about it. Yeah.
Let's do it. The next one.
For
all right,
sure,
y'all.
Man.
Enjoy your burger.
Love
Great
y'all.
chatting with y'all.
Love you too, man. Peace.